The theater kids mocking me at the school did not know I was an Olympian. Maybe if you actually had some rhythm, you could understand why we need the entire gym for rehearsal, Madison sneered, her perfectly curled blonde hair bouncing as she gestured dramatically toward the basketball hoops. This is art, not whatever it is you do in your spare time. I stood there holding my worn gym bag, watching as 12 members of Lincoln High's drama club claimed the entire gymnasium for their talent show rehearsal. It was 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I'd been coming here every day after school for the past 3 months, quietly working on conditioning in the corner while they ran their scenes on the opposite side. We'd coexisted peacefully until today. Seriously though, chimed in Brett, the lead in their upcoming production of Hamilton, why do you even come here? You just stretch and do weird poses. It's kind of creepy how you never talk to anyone. The other theater kids laughed, and I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. The same one I'd learned to ignore during those early morning training sessions in Colorado Springs, when my teammates would whisper about the pressure kid who'd made the Olympic team at 16. Different place, same feeling of not belonging. I can find somewhere else, I said quietly, shouldering my bag. Wait, Madison held up a manicured hand. Actually, you should totally sign up for the talent show. It's next Friday. I mean, we're doing scenes from Broadway classics and Brett's performing an original monologue he wrote about social justice, but I'm sure they need someone to. I don't know, do interpretive dance or something equally tragic. The group erupted in laughter again. Sarah Chen, who played piano for most of their numbers, at least had the decency to look uncomfortable, but she didn't say anything. The deadline's tomorrow at noon, Brett added with mock helpfulness. $20 entry fee. Winner gets $500 and gets to perform at the spring assembly in front of the whole school. Plus, Madison's voice dripped with fake sweetness, it'll be so nice to have some variety. You know, break up all the actual talent with something different. I nodded and headed toward the exit, their laughter following me down the hallway. They had no way of knowing that 3 months ago, I'd been in Tokyo, competing on the world's biggest stage. That the weird poses were me maintaining the flexibility that had earned me a bronze medal in floor exercise and helped Team USA secure silver in the all-around. That my coach, Elena Petrov, had been calling twice a week begging me to return to training for the next quad. My parents had made the decision to enroll me at Lincoln High after the games, desperate to give me a normal teenage experience after years of homeschooling and 12-hour training days. You've sacrificed so much of your childhood, Alexis, Mom had said. This is your chance to just be a regular kid. A regular kid. Right. I walked to my beat-up Honda Civic, a deliberate choice to blend in, unlike the Mercedes my endorsement deals could have afforded, and sat in the parking lot for a moment. Through the gym windows, I could see Madison directing her friends in what looked like a scene from Rent, all dramatic gestures and passionate expressions. $20 entry fee. $500 prize. Performance in front of the whole school. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Elena's contact. 3 missed calls from today alone. Maybe it was time to stop being a regular kid. I didn't call Elena back that night. Instead, I sat in my bedroom staring at the Lincoln High talent show registration form I printed from the school website. The $20 entry fee seemed almost insulting. I competed for prize money that could buy a car, and now I was debating whether to spend my babysitting money to prove a point to a bunch of teenagers who thought Broadway was the pinnacle of artistic achievement. My phone buzzed with a text from Jordan Weber, my former teammate who'd been helping with the junior elite program at our old gym in Texas. Asterisk saw your floor routine from Tokyo on TV again today. That double-double to end still gives me chills. How's civilian life treating you, asterisk? I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, asterisk different. How's coaching, asterisk? Asterisk exhausting but amazing. These level 10s remind me of us at that age. Speaking of which, Elena mentioned you haven't returned her calls. She's worried, asterisk. I set the phone aside without responding. Elena Petrov had coached me since I was 11, transforming a hyperactive kid from suburban Michigan into an Olympic medalist. She'd earned the right to worry, but she'd also earned the right to understand why I needed this break. The truth was, I'd been having nightmares about beam routines and listening for the sound of my alarm at 4:30 a.m. even though I hadn't set it in months. My hands still automatically chalked themselves on dusty surfaces, and I caught myself visualizing tumbling passes when I should have been paying attention in AP history. But watching Madison's crew dismiss me so casually had awakened something I'd tried to bury. The same competitive fire that had driven me through stress fractures and torn ligaments and the suffocating pressure of carrying an entire country's expectations on a 4-inch piece of wood. Wednesday morning, I cornered Sarah Chen at her locker. She was the only one in their group who seemed to have a functioning conscience, and I needed intel. Hey, I said, making her jump. Sorry. I wanted to ask you something about the talent show. Sarah glanced around nervously, probably checking for Madison's disapproval. Oh. Yeah. Are you actually going to sign up? Because I should probably mention that Madison's been preparing for this since school started. Her rendition of Defying Gravity is intense. What's the performance space like? Stage dimensions, sound system setup, that kind of thing. It's in the main auditorium. The stage is pretty big, maybe 40 by 30 feet. They have a decent sound system, basic lighting rig. Why? What are you planning to perform? I shrugged. Still deciding. Is there a height restriction on the ceiling? Height restriction. Sarah looked confused. It's a normal auditorium ceiling. Like 25 feet, maybe 30. That's a weird question. Perfect. More than enough clearance for what I had in mind. Thanks, I said, starting to walk away. Hey, Alexis. Sarah called after me. I know Madison can be a lot. But she's not wrong about the competition being pretty stiff. Brett's monologue made half the drama class cry yesterday, and Tommy Nguyen is doing this incredible beatboxing routine. Just manage your expectations, okay? I almost laughed. Expectations. If she only knew that I'd spent the last 6 years having my expectations managed by Olympic selection committees and international judges who could determine my entire future with a 0.1 deduction. Thanks for the heads up, I said. That afternoon, I drove to the empty gym at the community center across town and paid for a 2-hour rental. It was time to see if my body remembered what my mind had been trying to forget. The community center gym smelled like industrial disinfectant and old sneakers, nothing like the pristine training facilities I was used to. I'd forgotten to bring my team warm-ups, so I stood there in my old Lincoln High PE clothes feeling like an imposter in my own sport. I started with basic conditioning. Push-ups, hollow holds, handstand presses against the wall. My shoulders burned after 20 minutes, which would have been embarrassing 3 months ago but felt oddly reassuring now. At least my body was honest about what I'd lost. Then I tried a simple back handspring. The muscle memory kicked in immediately, the reach back, the snap down, the push through my shoulders, but my landing was short and my legs shook on the finish. I tried again. Better, but still off. On the third attempt, I finally stuck it clean, and for a split second I was back in Tokyo, hearing the roar of the crowd after nailing my opening pass. My phone rang. Elena again. This time, I answered. Alexis. Thank God. I was starting to think you changed your number. Hi, Elena. I walked to the corner of the gym, suddenly self-conscious even though I was alone. Sorry I haven't called back. Are you okay? Your parents said you're doing well in school, but you sound. She paused, probably trying to find the diplomatic way to say I sounded like crap. Are you happy? The question hit harder than I expected. Was I happy? I'd been aiming for normal, for invisible, for anything that didn't require chalk and competition Leo and judges holding up scorecards that determined my worth. I'm figuring it out, I said finally. The Junior Elite program wants to bring you in for a guest coaching session next month. Just a few hours with the level 10s, share your experience. Interested? Before I could answer, I heard voices echoing in the hallway outside the gym. Through the small window in the door, I saw Madison, Brett, and 3 other theater kids heading toward the main community center entrance. My stomach dropped. Elena, I have to go. Can I call you back? Of course, but Alexis. I hung up and shoved the phone in my bag. They hadn't seen me yet, but if they came in here and found me alone in a gym, tumbling around like some kind of wannabe cheerleader, I'd never hear the end of it. I grabbed my water bottle and tried to look casual, like I'd just been stretching or something equally mundane. But then I heard Madison's voice getting closer. Booked Studio A for 3 hours. If we can nail the choreography for the group number today, we'll have the rest of the week to polish individual pieces. They were here to rehearse. Of course they were. I looked around frantically for another exit, but the gym only had one door, and they were heading straight for it. I could hide in the equipment closet, but that would only delay the inevitable awkwardness. The door opened, and Brett walked in first, stopping mid-sentence when he saw me. Oh. Weird. It's the stretching girl. Madison appeared behind him, her expression shifting from surprise to amusement. Alexis. What are you doing here? Don't tell me you actually signed up for the talent show. My registration form was due in 14 hours. I had $23.50 in my checking account. And now I was trapped in a community center gym with the 5 people who'd made it their mission to remind me daily that I didn't belong anywhere. Just working out, I said, slinging my bag over my shoulder. Working out? Brett laughed. In here. There's not even any equipment. Madison's eyes narrowed as she looked around the space, taking in the high ceilings and the spring floor mats I dragged out of storage. Actually, she said slowly, this is perfect. Brett, what if we incorporated some acrobatic elements into the opening number? Nothing crazy, just some basic tumbling to add visual interest. My blood went cold. I mean, how hard could it be, right? I watched in horror as Madison gestured toward the tumbling mats with the casual confidence of someone who'd never experienced a compression fracture in her lumbar spine. We could start with some basic cartwheels, maybe work up to back handsprings, she continued, pulling out her phone to record. Sarah, you're the most flexible. Want to give it a try? Sarah looked terrified. Madison, I don't think. Come on, it's just gymnastics. How complicated can it be? Brett was already jogging toward the mats, probably envisioning himself as the next Zac Efron in High School Musical. I did parkour videos on TikTok all summer. I should have left. Should have grabbed my bag and walked out while they were distracted by their newest terrible idea. Instead, I found myself frozen in place as Brett attempted what could generously be called a cartwheel but looked more like a drunken collapse. Ow. He rolled over, clutching his wrist. Okay, that's harder than it looks. You're not committing to the flip, Madison said, as if she had any idea what she was talking about. Here, let me try. This was how people ended up in wheelchairs. I'd seen enough catastrophic injuries in my sport to recognize the warning signs: overconfidence, no proper training, and a complete lack of understanding about how quickly things could go wrong. Maybe you should start with forward rolls, I said quietly. Madison paused mid-run. I'm sorry, what? Forward rolls. You should start with forward rolls and work up to cartwheels. The impact on your wrists. Are you seriously trying to coach us right now? Brett sat up, still nursing his wrist. You've been doing your little floor routine alone in here for what, 30 minutes? That makes you an expert. I'm just saying it's dangerous too. Dangerous? Madison laughed. It's basic tumbling. I've been dancing since I was 4, Brett played varsity soccer, and Sarah's been in yoga classes for 2 years. We're not exactly couch potatoes here. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. In the gymnastics world, we had a saying, the mat doesn't care about your resume. It didn't matter if you'd been dancing since you could walk, the physics of a back handspring would humble you the same way it humbled everyone else. Tell you what, Madison said, her voice taking on that sickeningly sweet tone I'd learned to dread. Since you're so concerned about our safety, why don't you show us the proper technique? Consider it your audition for the talent show. The other theater kids exchanged glances. This wasn't about learning gymnastics, this was about putting me in my place, making me perform like a trained seal while they judged my effort and found it wanting. I don't think, I started. Unless you can't actually do it yourself, Brett added. I mean, we've never seen you do anything more advanced than touching your toes. My hands clenched involuntarily. 6 months ago, I'd landed a triple twisting double layout in front of 12,000 people and stuck it cold. 3 months ago, NBC had featured my floor routine in their Olympic highlight reel, calling it a masterpiece of artistry and athleticism. Now I was being dared to prove I could do a back handspring by a kid who just face-planted trying to do a cartwheel. Fine, I said, walking toward the center of the mat. But you stay back there. Tumbling requires a safety perimeter. Madison smirked. Safety perimeter. Right. This ought to be good. I took a deep breath and tried to ignore the familiar pre-performance adrenaline surge. Just a simple back handspring. Something I'd been doing since I was 8 years old. Nothing that would give away who I really was. I raised my arms, bent my knees, and reached back into the pass. The muscle memory kicked in perfectly, too perfectly. What was supposed to be a simple back handspring turned into a back handspring step-out, then somehow became a back handspring step-out to round off back layout. My body moved without conscious thought, flowing through skills I drilled 10,000 times, and I stuck the landing with textbook form. Dead silence. I looked up to find all 5 theater kids staring at me with their mouths open. Sarah had dropped her water bottle. Brett was still sitting on the mat, his wrist forgotten. What the hell was that? Madison whispered. My heart hammered against my ribs. I'd blown it. Completely, spectacularly blown my cover with one moment of muscle memory taking over. Just tumbling, I said lamely. Just tumbling. Brett scrambled to his feet. That was like Olympic-level stuff. Where did you learn to do that? Think fast, Alexis. YouTube. Lots of YouTube tutorials. Madison's eyes narrowed. She wasn't buying it, and I could practically see the wheels turning in her head. Nobody learns to do that from YouTube videos. That was professional gymnastics. My older sister used to do gymnastics, I said, the lie coming easier now. She taught me some basics before she went to college. Some basics. Sarah had found her voice again. Alexis, that was incredible. Why haven't you ever mentioned? Because it's not a big deal, I cut her off, already backing toward my bag. Just something I mess around with for exercise. Madison stepped between me and the exit. Oh no, you're not going anywhere. Not after that performance. Her tone had shifted from dismissive to calculating. You've been holding out on us. I haven't been holding out on anything. Bullshit. Brett joined Madison, effectively blocking my escape route. Nobody accidentally does whatever that was. You've been coming to our gym every day, watching us rehearse, pretending to be some awkward wallflower who can barely string 2 words together. It's not your gym, I said quietly. But it is our talent show, Madison replied. And suddenly our biggest competition isn't Tommy Nguyen's beatboxing routine. It's Little Miss Mysterious over here with her secret gymnastics background. My phone buzzed with a text. Without thinking, I glanced at it. Asterisk Elena Petrov, Alexis, I've been thinking about our conversation. Whatever you're going through, remember that your talent is a gift. Don't let fear keep you from sharing it with the world, asterisk. Sarah, who was closest to me, caught a glimpse of the screen before I could shove the phone back in my pocket. Her face went completely white. Elena Petrov, she said slowly. Why do you have Elena Petrov's number in your phone? The blood drained from my face. Elena wasn't exactly a household name, but Sarah was the type of overachiever who'd probably researched every Olympic coach for a school report at some point. Who's Elena Petrov? Brett asked. She's only one of the most famous gymnastics coaches in the world, Sarah said, still staring at me. She coached 3 Olympic champions and... She trailed off, her eyes widening as the pieces clicked together. Oh my god. Madison looked between us impatiently. Would someone please explain what's happening? But Sarah was already pulling out her own phone, her fingers flying across the screen. Alexis, what's your last name? Why does that matter? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Chen, what are you doing? Madison demanded. Sarah held up her phone, showing a Google image search. Is your last name Morrison? I couldn't breathe. On her screen was a photo from Tokyo, me and my Team USA Leo, arms raised in victory after my floor routine, the bronze medal visible around my neck. Holy shit, Brett whispered. Madison grabbed the phone, staring at the image. This is you. This is actually you. She looked up at me, her expression cycling through disbelief, embarrassment, and something that might have been fear. You're an actual Olympian. The community center gym felt impossibly small suddenly, the walls closing in as 5 teenagers processed the fact that they'd been mocking and dismissing an Olympic medalist for 3 months. The talent show registration, Madison said faintly. You're actually going to sign up, aren't you? I grabbed my bag and pushed past them toward the door. $20 is $20. The news spread through Lincoln High like wildfire, just like I knew it would. By Thursday morning, I couldn't walk down the hallway without feeling eyes on me. Whispered conversation stopped abruptly when I passed. 3 different underclassmen asked for selfies before first period. Is it true you won a gold medal? Asked Jessica Martinez, cornering me at my locker. Bronze, I corrected automatically. Bronze in floor exercise, silver in team all around. She pulled out her phone faster than I could blink. Can you show me that flip thing you did? My Instagram followers would die. No. I slammed my locker shut harder than necessary. I'm not a performing monkey. The hurt look on her face made me feel like garbage, but I was already running late for AP chemistry and frankly exhausted from fielding the same questions every 10 minutes. It got worse at lunch. The cafeteria fell silent when I walked in, hundreds of eyes tracking my movement to the corner table where I always ate alone. Someone started clapping, probably meant to be supportive, but it felt mocking somehow. Within seconds, half the cafeteria had joined in, a thunderous applause that made my skin crawl. I grabbed a bag of chips and fled to the library. Mrs. Patterson, the librarian, found me hiding behind the biography section 20 minutes later. Rough day? She asked gently. You could say that. I stared at my untouched bag of Doritos. Did you know that you were a gymnast? I suspected. You moved differently than other kids, very controlled, very aware of your body and space. Plus, you checked out every book we have on sports psychology. She sat down across from me. Want to talk about it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with yet another notification. My Instagram had gained 3,000 followers overnight. Someone had posted the video Sarah took of my tumbling pass, and it was spreading across TikTok with captions like, "Secret Olympian exposed," and "Plot twist of the century." I just wanted to be normal, I said quietly. Normal is overrated, Mrs. Patterson replied. Though I imagine being extraordinary gets exhausting. That afternoon, I found Madison waiting by my car in the parking lot. For once, she was alone, no Brett, no entourage, just her leaning against my Honda Civic like she belonged there. "We need to talk," she said. "I have nothing to say to you." "Well, I have something to say to you." She pushed off from the car, blocking my path to the driver's door. "I owe you an apology." I almost dropped my keys. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me." Madison's perfectly styled confidence had cracked, revealing something more vulnerable underneath. "I've been a complete bitch to you since day one, and now I find out you're literally one of the most talented people on the planet. I feel like an idiot." "You should feel like an idiot. You've spent 3 months treating me like garbage." "I know." She looked down at her designer shoes. "I was jealous." "Jealous? Of what?" "You didn't even know." "I was jealous of how you carried yourself," she interrupted. "You never seemed to need anyone's approval. You just existed in your own space, completely self-contained. Do you know how infuriating that is for someone who's built their entire identity around being the center of attention?" I stared at her. This was possibly the most honest thing Madison Hartwell had ever said in my presence. "The talent show," she continued. "Are you really going to compete?" I thought about the registration form sitting on my desk at home, still unsigned. "I don't know." "Because if you are..." Madison took a deep breath. "I want to withdraw my entry." "What? Why?" "Because I've seen what you can do, and I'm not stupid enough to compete against an Olympic medalist. That would be like bringing a kazoo to a symphony." "Madison." "No, let me finish." She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "I've been the star of every show, every competition, every performance at this school since freshman year. I'm good at what I do, really good. But you're on a completely different level. A level I'll never reach." The raw honesty in her voice caught me off guard. For the first time, Madison sounded like a real person instead of a character performing her own life. "Everyone's going to expect you to compete now," she added. "The whole school's talking about it." I found Coach Peterson waiting in his office after 6th period, looking like he'd been expecting me. Lincoln High's athletic director was a former college football player who'd always treated me with polite indifference, until today. "Alexis, come in, sit down." He gestured to the chair across from his desk, where a manila folder sat with my name written across the tab. "I think we need to discuss your situation." "What situation?" I remained standing, my backpack clutched defensively against my chest. "Well, for starters, the fact that I've had 17 phone calls since yesterday morning. Local news stations, the district superintendent, 3 different college recruiters who apparently didn't know you were enrolled here." He opened the folder and pulled out a printed email. "This one's from ESPN asking if they can film a feature story about Olympic champions in high school." My stomach dropped. "You're not going to let them, are you?" "That depends entirely on you." "But Alexis, we need to talk about liability issues. The school's insurance doesn't cover Olympic-level gymnastics training on our premises. If you get injured performing advanced skills at the talent show..." "I won't get injured." Coach Peterson raised an eyebrow. "That's what every athlete says right before they end up in the emergency room. Look, I've done some research since yesterday. Your coaching history, your competitive record, it's impressive as hell. But it also means you're capable of skills that could seriously hurt you if something goes wrong." He pulled out another document, incident reports and insurance claims from gymnastics accidents nationwide. Broken necks, paralysis, traumatic brain injuries. All from athletes attempting skills they'd done successfully thousands of times before. "So you're saying I can't compete?" "I'm saying the school board is having an emergency meeting tonight to discuss whether we can allow it. The talent show has always been a low-key event, kids singing pop songs, doing comedy skits, basic dance routines. We're not equipped to host an Olympic-caliber gymnastics exhibition." The irony wasn't lost on me. For months, I'd been trying to hide my abilities, desperate to blend in. Now that everyone knew the truth, I was being told those same abilities made me too dangerous to perform. What if I tone it down? Keep everything simple. Coach Peterson leaned back in his chair, studying me carefully. "Can you do that? Because from what I saw on that viral video, simple doesn't seem to be in your vocabulary. You were asked to demonstrate a back handspring and somehow ended up doing skills that probably have names I can't pronounce." He was right. The muscle memory was too ingrained, the competitive instincts too sharp. When I performed, my body automatically reached for the highest level of difficulty I could execute. It's what had made me an Olympian, and what might now keep me off the talent show stage. "There's something else," Coach Peterson continued, pulling out his phone. "I got a call this morning from Elena Petrov." My blood went cold. "Elena called you?" "She did. Very concerned about your well-being, wondering why she'd seen footage of you training alone in an unsupervised facility. Apparently, she's been trying to reach you for weeks." "What did you tell her?" "That I'd have you call her back immediately." "Which you're going to do." He slid a piece of paper across the desk with Elena's number written in his blocky handwriting. "She's flying in from Colorado Springs tomorrow morning. Wants to meet with you, your parents, and me to discuss your transition back to competitive training." The walls of the small office seemed to be closing in. "I don't want to go back to competitive training." "Then you need to tell her that yourself. Because right now, she's under the impression that you've been secretly training for a comeback, and this talent show performance is some kind of unofficial return to competition." Coach Peterson stood up, walking around the desk to face me directly. "Alexis, I need you to understand something. Whatever decision you make about the talent show, about gymnastics, about your future, it's going to affect more than just you. The school district is looking at this as either a huge PR opportunity or a massive lawsuit waiting to happen. Your teammates from the Olympic team are probably wondering why you're doing exhibition performances instead of training for Worlds. And every kid in this building is going to be watching Friday night, expecting to see something extraordinary. He paused, letting that sink in. So before you sign that registration form, you better be damn sure you're ready for what comes next. I called Elena from my car in the school parking lot, hands shaking as I dialed the number I knew by heart but hadn't used in weeks. She picked up on the first ring. Alexis. Her voice carried that familiar mix of relief and reproach that I'd heard after every missed training session, every moment of doubt throughout my career. Finally. Coach Peterson said you're flying out here. I'm already at Denver International. Flight leaves in 2 hours. I could hear gate announcements in the background. We need to talk, Alexis. Really talk. Not these 5-minute phone calls where you tell me you're figuring things out. I am figuring things out. By performing unsupervised in community center gyms. By letting teenagers film you and post it on social media without any context. Her accent grew thicker when she was agitated, the Russian consonants sharpening. Do you have any idea what you've started? Through the phone, I heard another voice, younger, American. Elena, is that her? Can I talk to her? My stomach dropped. Who else is with you? Madison Koshin wanted to come. She's been following the situation online, very concerned about. You brought Madison. Madison Koshin, former Olympic teammate, current UCLA superstar, and the last person I wanted analyzing my life choices. Elena, why would you? Because she understands what you're going through better than anyone. The pressure, the transition, the identity crisis that comes after competing at the highest level. Elena's voice softened slightly. She went through her own struggles after Rio. I remembered. Madison's freshman year at UCLA had been rocky, injuries, homesickness, the adjustment from elite to college gymnastics. But she'd worked through it, found her place, became a leader on one of the strongest teams in the country. I don't need an intervention. Don't you? Alexis, you disappeared. One day you're training for the next quad, the next day you're enrolled in public school and pretending to be a normal teenager. Your parents are worried sick, your federation contact has been calling me weekly asking about your status, and now I find out through TikTok that you're performing exhibition routines for high schoolers. The accusation in her voice stung because it was accurate. I had disappeared, deliberately and completely, from everything and everyone who defined my life for 6 years. The talent show, I said quietly. Are you here to stop me from competing? I'm here to understand why you want to. Because the Alexis Morrison I coached for 6 years would never perform without months of preparation, detailed routine construction, and a clear competitive goal. So either you've changed completely, or this is about something else entirely. A text popped up on my phone screen, Madison Hartwell, of all people. Asterisk just heard your coach is flying in. Are you okay? Asterisk. I stared at the message, struck by the genuine concern from someone who'd made my life miserable for months. The irony was suffocating. Elena, I have to go. What time does your flight land? 7:30 p.m. I've arranged to meet with you and your parents at 8:30. Madison will be there too. At my house. At the gym. We're going to watch you train, assess where you are physically and mentally, and make some decisions about your future. The line went dead, leaving me alone in my car with the weight of tomorrow's reckoning settling on my shoulders. Friday's talent show had somehow become the least of my problems. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Sarah Chin. Asterisk talent show registration deadline is in 3 hours. Madison W. just announced she's withdrawing her entry. Says the competition wouldn't be fair. Are you really going to do this? Asterisk. 3 hours to decide whether to compete. 18 hours until Elena's evaluation. For days until I either reclaimed my identity or buried it forever. I pulled out the registration form and stared at the empty signature line. I sat in my car staring at that signature line for 20 minutes before my phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize, a 719 area code. Colorado Springs. Alexis Morrison. The voice was crisp, professional. This is Janet Rodriguez from USA Gymnastics Media Relations. I'm calling about the video that's been circulating online. My hands went numb. What about it? Well, we've had several inquiries from sponsors and media outlets asking about your current competitive status. Your Nike contract technically doesn't expire until December 2024, and they're wondering if this performance indicates you're planning a return to elite competition. Nike contract. I'd forgotten about the Nike contract. Along with the Visa sponsorship that paid me $3,000 a month whether I competed or not, and the appearance fees I was contractually obligated to honor if requested. I'm not returning to elite, I said quickly. It's a high school talent show. Right, but the optics are complicated. When an Olympic medalist performs at a public event, even a high school talent show, it generates media attention. And media attention triggers certain clauses in your endorsement agreements. My stomach dropped. What kind of clauses? Performance requirements, media availability, image approval for any competitive appearances. If you compete Friday night, Nike has the right to send a film crew to document it for their social media campaigns. Visa can require you to wear their logo during the performance. I closed my eyes. A simple talent show was becoming a corporate circus. What if I withdraw? That might actually be worse. Olympic champion backs down from high school competition isn't exactly the narrative your sponsors want to promote. These contracts were written assuming you'd maintain a certain public profile. After Janet hung up, I called my parents. Dad answered on the second ring, his voice tight with stress. Alexis, thank God. We've been getting calls all day. Some reporter from the Detroit Free Press wants to interview us about raising an Olympic champion in small-town Michigan. Dad, I need you to know that Elena's flying in tonight. She wants to meet at 8:30. Silence. Then, she wants you to go back, doesn't she? I think so. But there's more. My sponsorship contracts are still active. If I perform Friday night, it might trigger obligations I can't handle right now. I heard him talking to Mom in the background, their voices muffled but urgent. When he came back on the line, he sounded exhausted. Honey, your mother and I have been talking. We thought we were protecting you by encouraging this normal teenage experience, but maybe we didn't consider all the implications. What do you mean? You can't just disappear from the gymnastics world without consequences. The contracts, the relationships, the expectations, they don't vanish because you enroll in public school. Through my windshield, I could see Brett and 2 other theater kids walking across the parking lot, heads bent over their phones. Probably reading the latest articles about me, analyzing my chances in Friday's competition like I was a racehorse they were betting on. The registration deadline is in 2 hours, I told Dad. What does your gut tell you? Before I could answer, someone knocked on my passenger window. Sarah Chin stood there holding 2 cups of coffee from the school cafe, looking nervous but determined. I rolled down the window. What are you doing here? Thought you might need caffeine while you make your decision. She handed me one of the cups, a vanilla latte, somehow exactly what I needed. Can I sit? I unlocked the door and she slid into the passenger seat, both of us staring at the registration form on my dashboard. Madison feels terrible, Sarah said quietly. Like, genuinely sick about how she treated you. She should. She's also terrified that if you compete, it'll expose how amateur the rest of us really are. Brett's been throwing up all morning. I almost smiled. Good. But here's the thing, Sarah continued. I've been thinking about why you're really doing this. And I don't think it's about winning $500 or proving a point to Madison. She was right, but I wasn't ready to admit it yet. Then why am I doing it? Sarah took a sip of her coffee, choosing her words carefully. I think you're trying to figure out who you are when nobody's watching. When there's no team, no coaches, no Olympic pressure. Just you and your talent in a room full of teenagers who have no idea what you've sacrificed to get here. The truth of it hit me like a physical blow. I stared at Sarah for a long moment, her words echoing in my head. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, this is Madison Koshin. Elena gave me your number. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know, whatever you decide about Friday, I support it. The pressure you're feeling right now? I've been there. Call me if you want to talk. MK asterisk. Great, I muttered, showing Sarah the screen. Now my former teammate is involved too. Sarah's eyes widened. Madison Koshin texted you. She's like, gymnastics royalty. She's also flying here with Elena tonight for an intervention disguised as a training evaluation. I took a gulp of the latte, hoping the caffeine would clear my head. Did you know that if I compete Friday, Nike can legally require me to turn it into a corporate promotional event? Seriously. Seriously. Film crews, sponsor logos, media interviews. My stupid high school talent show performance could become a nationally televised comeback special that I never wanted. Sarah was quiet for a moment, processing this information. So you're trapped. If you compete, it becomes this huge production. If you don't compete, you look like you're backing down from high school kids. Pretty much. She turned in her seat to face me fully. Okay, but what if there's a third option? Like what? What if you compete, but you control the narrative? Set the terms before anyone else can. Before I could ask what she meant, Brett appeared at my window looking pale and sweaty. I reluctantly rolled it down again. Hey, he said, his usual cockiness completely absent. I wanted to apologize. For everything. The comments, the attitude, all of it. Okay. Also, I'm withdrawing from the talent show. Sarah and I exchanged glances. Brett, you don't have to. Yes, I do. My original monologue about social justice. It's garbage. Complete pretentious garbage, and I can admit that now. He ran a hand through his hair. I spent 3 hours last night watching footage of your floor routine from Tokyo. The artistry, the technical precision, the way you made it look effortless, I'm not even in the same universe as that level of performance. Brett. Let me finish. I know Madison already withdrew, and Tommy Nguyen is seriously considering it too. By Friday, you might be competing against like 3 people. My stomach sank. This was exactly what I've been afraid of, everyone treating me like some kind of exhibition act instead of just another student participating in a school event. That's not what I wanted, I said quietly. I know. But it's what's happening. Brett looked genuinely apologetic. The whole school's talking about it. Mrs. Henderson had to move the event to the main auditorium because ticket sales went from 50 to 800 overnight. 800 people. Local news is sending a crew. The mayor wants to present you with some kind of key to the city beforehand. Oh, and apparently your former teammate Jordan Childs posted about it on Instagram, so now half of gymnastics Twitter knows. I dropped my head into my hands. This is a nightmare. Actually, Sarah said slowly, this might be perfect. Both Brett and I stared at her. Think about it, Alexis. You said you wanted to control the narrative. Well, now you have 800 people's attention. You can show them exactly who you are, not the Olympic champion they've read about, not the mysterious quiet girl from the hallway, but the real you. My phone rang again. Elena, calling from the airport. I have to take this, I told them, but Sarah shook her head. Registration deadline is in 30 minutes. Elena can wait. The question is, are you ready to stop hiding? I looked at the unsigned form on my dashboard, then at the school building where 800 people would gather Friday night, then at my phone showing Elena's third missed call. 29 minutes to decide who I wanted to be. I picked up Elena's call with 28 minutes left. Alexis, we need to discuss your training schedule immediately. I've arranged for gymnasium access starting tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Elena, stop. Sarah and Brett were watching me through the windshield, and somehow their presence made me braver. I'm not coming back to elite training. Silence. Then, the video shows you're still in excellent form. Your technique on that layout was flawless, your amplitude remarkable for someone who's been out of training for 3 months. It was muscle memory. Nothing more. Muscle memory doesn't explain the artistry I saw, or the confidence in your landings. Alexis, you're 17 years old. Most gymnasts peak at 19 or 20. You have another quad in you, possibly two. Through the phone, I heard Madison Koshin's voice in the background. Let me talk to her. A rustling sound, then Madison's familiar tone. Alex. It's me. Hearing her voice brought back a flood of memories, shared hotel rooms during competitions, late-night conversations about pressure and expectations, the way she talked me through my nerves before the Olympic floor final. Hi, Mads. Elena's freaking out because she thinks you're throwing your career away for some teenage rebellion phase. I told her she's wrong. Madison's voice was gentler than Elena's, more understanding. This isn't about rebellion, is it? No. It's about identity. About figuring out who you are when you're not wearing a leotard with USA across your chest. My throat tightened. Yeah. I get it. After Rio, I thought I had to choose between being Madison Koshin the Olympic champion or Madison the college student. Took me 2 years to realize I could be both. Sarah was still watching me, her expression patient but concerned. The registration deadline clock on my phone showed 24 minutes remaining. The talent show, I said to Madison. Everyone's turned it into this huge spectacle. 800 people, news crews, the mayor wanting to give me a key to the city. Sounds familiar. Remember your first meet back home after Tokyo? They had a parade and everything. I did remember. The overwhelming attention, the way everyone expected me to be constantly on, performing my Olympic champion role even when I just wanted to buy groceries with my mom. What did you do? How did you handle it? I realized something important, Madison said. The pressure isn't about living up to other people's expectations. It's about being authentic to yourself. When I competed at UCLA, I wasn't trying to recreate my Olympic routines. I was showing people who I was in that moment, at that stage of my life. Elena's voice came back on the line. Madison makes a valid point, but Alexis, you cannot make career decisions based on one high school performance. Your technical skills, your competitive record, are part of who I was, I interrupted. Not necessarily who I am now. 21 minutes. Elena, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Of course. If I compete Friday night, and I perform well, will you try to use it as leverage to get me back into elite training? A pause. I believe it would demonstrate that you're not ready to retire from competitive gymnastics. There it was. The truth I'd been avoiding. Elena would never accept my decision to step away, not as long as I was still capable of performing at a high level. Every demonstration of skill would become evidence in her case for my return. Then I have my answer, I said quietly. Sarah was holding up her phone, showing me the time, 18 minutes until the talent show office closed. Alexis, wait, Elena started, but I'd already hung up. I looked at Brett and Sarah, both still waiting patiently for my decision. If I do this, I said slowly, I'm not doing it to prove anything to Elena, or to show off for 800 people, or to win $500. Then why? Sarah asked. I picked up the registration form, pen hovering over the signature line. Because for the first time in 6 years, I get to choose exactly who I want to be on that stage. I signed the form with 13 minutes to spare. Sarah drove me to the main office while Brett followed behind, all of us silent as we processed what I just committed to. The hallways felt different somehow, charged with anticipation, like the air before a thunderstorm. Mrs. Henley, the school secretary, looked up when we walked in, her eyes widening slightly when she saw me. Alexis Morrison. I was wondering if you'd show up. Registration for the talent show, I said, sliding the form and a $20 bill across the counter. She picked up the paper, scanning it quickly. Performance type, gymnastics floor routine. Music selection, to be determined. Estimated duration, 3 to 4 minutes. She looked up at me over her reading glasses. Honey, are you sure about this? The insurance paperwork alone. I'm sure. Mrs. Henley glanced at Sarah and Brett, then back at me. The principal wants to meet with you first thing tomorrow morning. 7:30 a.m. in her office. There are some logistics we need to discuss. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom, asterisk Elena landed early. She's at the house with Dad. Come home now, asterisk. Great, I muttered. What? Sarah asked, reading over my shoulder. My intervention committee has convened without me. I shoved the phone back in my pocket. I should go face the music. But as we walked toward the parking lot, I heard someone calling my name from behind. I turned to see Madison Hartwell jogging to catch up, her designer bag bouncing against her hip. Wait, she said, slightly out of breath. I need to tell you something before you leave. Brett and Sarah exchanged glances. We'll wait in the car, Sarah said diplomatically, pulling Brett away. Madison waited until they were out of earshot before speaking. I talked to my mom last night. About you, about everything. Okay. She used to do gymnastics. Not elite level or anything, just recreational through middle school. But she remembered watching you compete in Tokyo. Madison's voice was quieter than usual, less performative. She said you looked terrified during the team final. Like, genuinely scared. I hadn't expected that. Most people remembered the successful routines, the medal ceremonies, the moments of triumph. Not many noticed the fear. She was right. I was terrified. Of falling. Of messing up. Of disappearing. The words came out before I could stop them. Of being just another routine in just another competition. Of realizing that all the sacrifice and pain might not actually mean anything. Madison nodded slowly, like she understood something that had been puzzling her. Is that why you came here? To Lincoln High? To see if you could exist without all the external validation? Partly. And now everyone knows who you are anyway, and they're expecting you to be extraordinary again. Pretty much. Madison looked down at her manicured hands, choosing her words carefully. I've been thinking about what I said yesterday. About withdrawing from the competition because I couldn't compete with your level of talent. Madison. No, let me finish. I was wrong. Not about your talent, you're obviously incredible. But about what competition means. She met my eyes directly. I've spent so much time being the star of every show that I forgot why I started performing in the first place. It wasn't to beat other people. It was because I loved it. A group of freshmen walked past us, whispering and pointing. One of them held up her phone, clearly recording us. Can you not? Madison snapped at them, and they scurried away. The whole school's going to be watching Friday, she continued. But maybe that's not about you proving anything to them. Maybe it's about you proving something to yourself. Before I could respond, my phone rang again. This time it was Dad, and his voice was strained when I answered. Alexis, where are you? Elena's been here for 20 minutes asking about your training schedule, and I have no idea what to tell her. I'm on my way home. She brought equipment, Dad said quietly. Gymnastics mats, a balance beam that apparently folds up. She's setting up some kind of evaluation station in the garage. My stomach dropped. Elena wasn't just here to talk. She was here to test me, to assess exactly how much skill I'd retained and use it as ammunition in her argument for my return to elite training. Dad, you don't have to let her. She's very persuasive. And your mother thinks maybe she has a point about not wasting your natural abilities. The betrayal hit like a punch to the chest. Mom, who'd been my biggest advocate for the normal teenage experience, was apparently wavering now that faced with Elena's professional certainty. I'll be there in 10 minutes, I said, hanging up. Madison was still standing there, having heard my side of the conversation. Want backup? I'm pretty good at dealing with intense authority figures. The offer surprised me. Why would you do that? Because 3 months ago, you could have humiliated me and Brett and everyone else who treated you badly. You could have walked into that gym and showed off, put us all in our place immediately. Instead, you just endured it. That takes a different kind of strength. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like someone actually understood what I'd been trying to accomplish at Lincoln High. Thanks, but I need to handle this myself. Madison nodded. Good luck Friday night. For what it's worth, I'm signing up again. Sarah talked me into it. She walked away before I could ask what she meant, leaving me alone in the parking lot with the weight of Friday's performance pressing down on my shoulders. 800 people. News crews. Elena's evaluation tomorrow. And now Madison Hartwell had decided to compete after all. The simple talent show I'd envisioned was becoming something else entirely, a public reckoning with everything I'd been trying to escape. I pulled into my driveway to find Elena's rental car parked behind Dad's truck, and through the garage windows I could see the unmistakable outline of a portable balance beam. My hands shook as I turned off the engine. Madison Koshin was sitting on my front steps, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I approached, her expression unreadable. How long have you been waiting out here? I asked. About 20 minutes. Your coach is intense. She tried to get me to demonstrate a beam routine to assess the quality of training partners available in Michigan. Madison stood up, brushing off her jeans. I told her I was just here for moral support. Through the front door, I could hear voices from the garage, Elena's sharp Russian accent cutting through Dad's measured Midwestern responses. Mom's laugh sounded forced and nervous. She brought a video camera, Madison added quietly. Professional grade. I think she's planning to document whatever happens in there. My stomach clenched. Elena filming my performance meant she intended to analyze every detail later, probably share the footage with the national team coaching staff. This wasn't just an evaluation, it was evidence gathering. I registered for the talent show, I said. I know. Sarah texted me. Madison hesitated. Elena saw the notification on your phone when it was sitting on the kitchen counter. She knows you signed up. What did she say? Something about unsanctioned competitive appearances and violation of training protocols. Your mom looked confused, and your dad got that face parents get when they're realizing they might be in over their heads. The front door opened, and Mom appeared, her smile too bright and strained. Alexis, honey. Elena's been waiting to see you. She set up some equipment in the garage, just wants to check your current conditioning level. Behind her, I could see Elena emerge from the kitchen, her coaching demeanor fully activated. She wore her Team USA tracksuit and carried a clipboard, every inch the professional who'd guided 3 Olympic champions to gold medals. Alexis. She looked me up and down, probably cataloging my posture, my muscle tone, any visible changes since our last training session. You look well. Perhaps a few pounds heavier, but nothing that can't be corrected with proper conditioning. Elena. First, we assess current skill retention. I've prepared a basic routine, nothing too demanding. Double pike dismount from beam, simple tumbling pass on floor. Then we discuss your training schedule moving forward. The casual assumption that I'd automatically comply made my jaw clench. I'm not doing a training evaluation. Elena's eyebrows rose slightly. I beg your pardon. I said no. I'm not performing for you, I'm not being filmed, and I'm not discussing training schedules. I looked at my parents, who were watching this exchange with growing alarm. I'm 17 years old and I'm done with elite gymnastics. Alexis, Mom said carefully, maybe you should just listen to what Elena has to say. She flew all the way out here. Because she refuses to accept my decision. I turned back to Elena, whose expression had hardened into the mask she wore when athletes challenged her authority. How many times do I have to say no before you believe me? Elena set down her clipboard with deliberate precision. You won an Olympic medal 8 months ago. Your Aminar vault scored a 15.2 at trials, higher than any American gymnast has achieved since Shannon Miller. You have natural gifts that appear once in a generation. And I'm choosing not to use them. You're choosing to waste them, she corrected sharply. Because you're scared of the work required to compete at the next level. The accusation hung in the air like a challenge. Madison shifted uncomfortably beside me, while my parents exchanged worried glances. Maybe I am scared, I said finally. But that's still my choice to make. Elena's phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it, and her expression shifted from frustrated to calculating. Interesting. USA Gymnastics just received confirmation that your talent show performance Friday night will be live-streamed on the school's website. Estimated viewership, 15,000 people. She looked up at me with something that might have been satisfaction. Still think this is just a harmless high school competition. The live stream news hit me like a physical blow. 15,000 viewers meant this wasn't just Lincoln High students and their families anymore, this was becoming a legitimate gymnastics event whether I wanted it or not. You knew about the live stream, I said, studying Elena's face. You've been in contact with the school. Principal Martinez called me this morning. Apparently the local ABC affiliate picked up the story, and now there's significant media interest. The school board decided to capitalize on the attention. Elena's voice took on that familiar coaching tone she used when explaining strategy. They've also arranged for professional judges, 3 former elite coaches who will provide scoring and commentary. Madison let out a low whistle. This is getting out of hand fast. It gets worse, Elena continued, consulting her phone again. I've received calls from 4 different college programs asking about your eligibility status. UCLA, Utah, Oklahoma, and Florida. Apparently they've all seen the viral footage and want to know if you're considering NCAA gymnastics. My legs felt unsteady. What had started as a simple fuck you to Madison Hartwell and her theater crew was snowballing into a nationally watched comeback performance with college recruitment implications. I never said I wanted to do college gymnastics either, I managed. But you haven't ruled it out, Mom interjected quietly. Honey, maybe this is actually an opportunity. You could have a full ride to any program in the country. Dad nodded slowly. The college fund we set aside for you could go to your sister instead. These gymnastics scholarships are worth what, $60,000 a year. Closer to 70 at the top programs, Elena supplied helpfully. Plus Nike has indicated they'd extend your endorsement deal if you compete collegiately. Another $15,000 annually, minimum. I felt trapped by numbers and possibilities I'd never asked anyone to calculate. Everyone was making plans for my future while I stood there in my own driveway, feeling like a spectator to my own life. What about what I want? I asked. What do you want? Elena shot back. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you want to compete Friday night. You want to show those theater students what real artistry looks like. You want to remind yourself why you fell in love with this sport in the first place. She wasn't entirely wrong, and that terrified me. Madison stepped closer, lowering her voice. Alex, can I talk to you privately for a minute? We walked to the edge of the driveway, out of earshot from the adults who were busy reorganizing my future without my input. I need to tell you something Elena doesn't know yet, Madison said quietly. Jordan Childs posted about your performance on TikTok this morning. It got 2.3 million views in 6 hours. My stomach dropped further. What did she say? That you were the most naturally gifted floor worker she'd ever trained with, and seeing you compete again gave her chills. She tagged Caitlin Ohashi, Kyla Ross, and Michaela Maroney. They all reposted it. The implications crashed over me. Olympic champions and NCAA superstars were publicly endorsing my return to gymnastics based on 30 seconds of community center footage. The pressure was building from every direction, Elena's professional expectations, my parents' financial calculations, and now social media validation from the biggest names in the sport. There's more, Madison continued. Someone leaked that you're performing Friday. The ticket sales crashed the school's website. They had to move it to the football stadium and set up live streaming equipment because they're expecting 3,000 people to show up. 3,000. In person. Plus 15,000 watching online. My simple high school talent show had become a stadium event. Friday night arrived faster than I wanted it to. By 6 p.m., the football stadium parking lot was packed beyond capacity. News vans from 3 different stations lined the street. I sat in my car watching crowds stream toward the entrance, many wearing Team USA shirts with my name on the back, merchandise I didn't even know existed. My phone showed 47 missed calls from Elena, 12 from various reporters, and 1 text from Sarah, *, you've got this. Remember, you're not performing for them. You're performing for you, *. The warm-up area was a converted classroom behind the stadium. When I walked in carrying my gym bag, conversation stopped. Madison Hartwell sat in the corner tuning her guitar, looking nervous but determined. Brett practiced his revised comedy routine, apparently he decided to compete after all, with a self-deprecating piece about the day I learned what real talent looks like. Alexis Morrison. A woman with a clipboard approached me. I'm Jennifer Walsh, event coordinator. We need to discuss your music selection and floor setup. I'd chosen Titanium by David Guetta, the same song from my Olympic floor routine, but arranged differently. Softer in places, more explosive in others. It felt right for who I was now versus who I'd been in Tokyo. The judges are former college coaches, she continued. They'll score on artistry and execution, but this isn't an official competition. No pressure. Through the thin walls, I could hear the crowd growing louder. 3,000 people waiting to see if I was still the gymnast they remembered, or just another teenager who peaked too early. Places in 10 minutes, Jennifer announced. Madison Hartwell walked over, her guitar case slung across her shoulder. I wanted to say thank you. For what? For making me remember why I love performing. Win or lose tonight, I'm going out there because it makes me happy. I'd forgotten that was allowed to be enough. Brett appeared beside her, looking pale but resolute. Same here. My new routine is actually funny instead of pretentious, which is a definite improvement. The first few acts went by in a blur. A senior did a poetry reading about social justice that was genuinely moving. The jazz ensemble played a flawless rendition of Take 5. Madison's acoustic version of Blackbird brought the crowd to their feet. Then Jennifer called my name. Walking onto that football field, seeing 3,000 faces in the stands and knowing 15,000 more were watching online, I felt something I hadn't experienced since Tokyo, pure, concentrated terror mixed with absolute certainty. The opening notes of Titanium echoed across the stadium. I raised my arms, found my starting position, and let 6 years of training take over. The routine flowed like water. Double layout to open, stuck cold. Switch leap to wolf jump, exactly as high as I'd intended. The dance sequence felt natural, authentic, like I was finally moving to music instead of competing against it. And the final tumbling pass, double-double with a full twist out, landed with such precision that the crowd's roar was audible even over the music. I saluted the judges, then turned to face the audience. 3,000 people on their feet, screaming like I just won Olympic gold instead of a high school talent show. But the real victory was quieter, more personal. For the first time in 8 months, I performed exactly as myself, not the Olympic champion everyone expected, not the normal teenager I'd been pretending to be, but Alexis Morrison, 17 years old, choosing to share what she loved with people who wanted to see it. The judges scored me a 9.8 out of 10. Madison Hartwell came in second with her guitar performance. Brett placed third with his comedy routine. I won $500 and finally figured out who I was.